What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown Podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. My name is Ben, your host, and today we're going to talk about how Google search works for beginners. So, we all know how powerful of a tool Google is for restoration businesses. Google allows people to access an infinite amount of content in fractions of a second. So, understanding how the search process works is pretty important if you have a restoration business and you want your customers to find you online, especially when you know how much the financial impact of having somebody market for you and ranking on search engines can be, and even more so what the negative financial impact is if you're not ranking well on search engines for your restoration business. So whether you have a website, Google My Business, social media profile, Google goes through an entire, very complicated process in just a millionth of a second to help find your business, categorize it, and then show it off to the potential customers that are searching online for property damage. So, first thing you have to understand is that you are in a very unique type of business category. Being a restoration business, you are a service-based. You're in the service industry. You're showing up and you're providing home services. Sometimes it's commercial, and the way people search for that type of service, a lot of the biggest majority, 90% plus, is they're going to be going onto a search engine unless they know somebody. So whether they're using their phone or they're using a desktop computer, they're going on to Google. They're looking for somebody to help them out with their property damage. The uniqueness of your situation is that people aren't trying to vet out a restaurant they're going to go to, right? So they're not going to search for 100 different companies. They're going to look at the top guys that are ranking well on the first page, and 9 times out of 10, if the reviews are good and everything is correct when they're doing their vetting process, they're going to go with somebody off the first page of Google. So it's especially important to understand how the search engines work so you can make sure that you're doing the right thing and ranking online. First of all, Google needs to understand that you have a web presence, right? So what they do is they constantly are searching for new content to add to its catalog, right? And this discovery process, the first process, is called crawling. You've heard bots crawling or Google spiders or whatever you want to call them, but basically crawling is just the process of searching for new content and adding it to its catalog, right? So Google will send these bots out and they'll discover web pages, whatever it may be. When you add new content, they're going to scan that. They're going to find out what it's all about. They're going to follow all the internal links and external links to get there to figure out what content's new, what it hasn't seen before, and they're kind of just getting an overall scan of your website. And then what it does is it's going to begin to categorize it, which we call indexing. So indexing is just kind of figuring out what your website is all about and understanding where to put it. If you want to think about Google like a grocery store manager, they're going to get a shipment of food in, whether it's meat, vegetables, whatever the case may be, and they have to categorize it, right? They don't want to throw all the steaks in with the fruit and vice versa. So the same way it kind of works with your web pages. So that's why it's really important when we go over our webinars and we're talking about content that you have very descriptive content on your site that's keyword rich, because you're basically trying to help Google index your site better. So if you have a website that's kind of all over the place, you don't have the right type of content, Google's going to have a hard time indexing you. And you can kind of look at it this way. If you have a librarian and you hand her a sheet of paper that says all these different ideas and different things that are on this sheet of paper and say, yeah, go file this for me in the Dewey Decimal System, if you want to look old school, they're not going to really know where to put it. So they're going to probably lean to more putting it into some sort of generic category. So the more purposeful you are with your content, the easier it is you're going to make it for Google to index your website. All right. So now they've found your website. They know you're a restoration company. What do they do next? Well, when a search happens on Google, Google sorts through hundreds of billions of websites in, millionth of a second. It's pretty cool. If you look up at the top of the search engines now, it'll actually tell you how many web pages it checked through and how long it took them to do it. And basically what they want to do is that they're trying to looking that big index, that big library of all the websites and all the web pages that exist. They're looking for the most useful and relevant results. And again, this happens so quick, and then they're going to serve that to the front user. So they're going to crawl your website. They're going to figure out what your website's about. They're going to index it, put it in the file cabinet, and then somebody's going to go, hey, I need this file, and boom, they're going to scan it, and they're going to show it to them. Okay. So for a typical query, you got to remember that there's thousands of websites and all these other restoration companies are out there. So, Google's been tasked with trying to find the highest quality and relevant answers to return that content and give the best user experience with the most appropriate results. And sometimes some things are out of your control, like proximity. So where you're at. So if you were looking for, if you were going on a Google search and just typed in new shirts, and you lived in New York, you're probably going to get a little bit different of a result than if you live down in Miami, for instance, right? So you have to remember that. It's going to be unique to proximity. Location's a big thing, type of device, and the type of language. All right. So you have to remember Google search results are organic. Okay. We're only talking about the organic side where SEO directly impacts. And they are generated via very sophisticated algorithms that make thousands and millions of calculations for every single search in a fraction of a second based on the relevance of a page to a user squared, right? So having the right content on your website, making it easy for Google to index your site. That's why we talk about having separate pages for each one of your services, separate pages for each one of the cities that you serve, just to try to be as specific as possible for Google to make it easier for them to index and then serve that content to the front user. That's how you win on Google, right? That's this entire complicated process broken down into a very simple 3-step process. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done, whether it's on page, off page, link building, everything there. But at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're just making things easy for Google to file your site and then show it to somebody. All right. One thing too, I wanted to talk about is Google will never accept the payments from anybody to be listed in an organic section or even alter any rankings in any way. So if you've heard that, or you might be a conspiracy theorist thinking that Google, you have to do this stuff. It's not true. Google there's no way to affect organic rankings except for doing the work, right? Having the right content on your site, building links, building authority to your website, getting Google reviews, just doing the right thing, using the ironclad digital dominance method, right? Creating all these different social business profiles for your restoration business, just adding to the authority, and it's making it easier for Google to figure out who you are and what you're all about. You're going to see ads, right? So I say that to the next step. You're going to see Google ads, but Google does a pretty good job of distinguishing the ad section from the map section and from the organic section. So organic should be the foundation of any one of your marketing plans. You do that via SEO. There's over 200 ranking factors that go into it. So there is some work, but it is, a very black and white process, right? There's no secret tricks. There's no magic pill. You just have to do the work. And that's why it takes so long for some companies to rank well on the search engines. But if you're doing things right, you will see yourself moving, especially if you're tracking your data. And one big thing to remember, nobody can guarantee Google results. Nobody can guarantee preferential treatment on a search engine. It doesn't exist. In fact, if you went and Googled that, can somebody guarantee me results? The first thing you're going to see is Google pops up. I don't know exactly what page. It might be just some sort of support Google page, and they literally highlight it and just say, if you do come across somebody that's saying that, they're full of it and you need to run the other way. All right. So let's recap. We could recap later, but we'll recap for now. So if you're wondering how the Google search engines work, the easy way to put it is Google's going to crawl the web with all these bots. They're looking for content. They're reading the back-end information. They're reading all your content, checking all your images. They're checking all your H1 tags, all the metadata, all the stuff on your site. They're going to figure out what the site's all about, and they're going to categorize it. That process is called indexing. All right. Then they use a ranking system based off of, a couple things that I talked about: location, the value of the content, how relevant the content is to what somebody's searching for. And then they're going to figure out what sites to rank on that search engine to make sure that they're delivering their user base the most relevant and appropriate content for what they're searching. All right. So it's a pretty simple macro process, but when you dive into it, it is kind of complicated. But, again, it's about grabbing your lunch pail, putting on your hard hat, and actually going to work on your site the right way. All right. But if you need help with any of this, I implore you guys, if you're DIY guys, download our free checklist. We've got a free checklist available on our website. There's no strings. It's literally a checklist that we use here at Ironclad Restoration Marketing to help make sure our clients are on the right track. And also helps us, kind of double and triple their sales. So that's one other reason to go download that marketing checklist. It's absolutely free of charge. You just go onto our site, ironcladrestorationmarketing.com, and download it. Also, I just published the revised edition of my No BS guide to internet marketing for restoration contractors. something I'm very proud of. It's a couple hundred pages, but it's literally a step-by-step guide on how to win for your restoration company when it comes to digital marketing and getting leads online. That's available on Amazon. We are doing a giveaway for the book right now. I've got some author's copies that I'm trying to give away. So check out our Instagram at Ironclad Restoration Marketing for details on how to get your free book. If you're watching this on Instagram, then just watch another video that we already made. If you're listening in on the podcast, head on over to our Instagram and check that out if you want a free copy. If not, it's available on Amazon. We've got a soft cover book and we have a Kindle version. And again, we do this for a living. So if you've been struggling to get leads, your current agency might not be working out, whatever the case may be. If you just have questions, we're here to help. You can give us a call anytime at 855-921-2384. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our page. If you're listening in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or one of your favorite streaming services, I'd love a review. That would be really helpful. I'd love to get a kind of a idea of where we're at, if we're providing value for you guys out there, if you're getting anything out of it. And you can drop some questions in those reviews. You can ask us for specific types of problems. And I'd love to make a podcast and a video on how to fix those problems for your restoration business. So that's it. That's how Google works. Hopefully you understand a little bit better, not only how important it is to have that search engine placement for your restoration business, but kind of how it works a little bit to give you a better idea to help you start to get leads from the internet. All right, guys, we will talk to you soon.